Hello, everybody, and welcome. I wanted to create a video to help walk you through the course and to review some of the highlights of the syllabus. This class will have a couple different videos to highlight different aspects of things that are kind of the need to knows. I've already done one video that's about your instructor, so if you want to know just a little bit more about myself. I will also have videos later on that are specific to our timeline assignments, both part 1 and part 2. Because those are your larger point assignments in the class. We'll talk about those at a later time, but this video is meant to review the highlights of the syllabus, and then also to help walk you through the navigation of the Blackboard site as well. So kind of what is the best practices to navigate and be successful in this entirely online class. So with that said, I'm going to actually share my screen with you. And we are going to look at all of this together. So just to kind of start off, now we will be talking about the syllabus primarily first, but just to give you a few heads up here, when you first come into the Blackboard site, you will always be started in the announcements section. That is the entry point into our class. If I have an announcement for you, then I will create it and I will send it as an email also, but it will also be archived here as well. So if you ever like, oh man, what did he say about the changing of the deadline of this thing, or he made some sort of comment about X, Y, and Z assignment, like where can I find that again? I lost my email. It's always going to be stationed right here in the announcement section as well. So just kind of know that. Now, as you're starting the course, you'll notice that this class is pretty laid out in chronological order, in that if you just kind of start at the top and work your way down, it's going to follow a pretty consistent pattern, and you will be able to kind of navigate your way through if you just kind of start at the top and work your way through. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start here at the Start Here button, which this is actually a button. And just a few things. So here's the About Your Instructor video I mentioned a second ago. You should go back and check that out. A little bio about myself as well, if you're curious. And then by the time you watch this, there will be a video right here, which is the course overview. And then some hyperlinks to the syllabus and the course calendar. Also a link to help save your USI email on your phone, and the hyperlink to get you into the first content, which we can get to that in other ways. You will find that I have, in some places, multiple ways to get to the same place, just to try to help make things easier on you. So we're gonna click on the syllabus here. I actually already have it pulled up on my tab, so wanted to make sure it was gonna work for the purpose of this video. Now, I'm not gonna go through this whole thing. I'm just gonna hit you with the highlights, but there are a few items that I'm going to for sure go over with you. So a couple things just at the very beginning here. So this is Social Work 222, which is Social Welfare, the Emergence of the Social Services. This is one of the prerequisite requirements to get into the social work program. So if you're considering the BSW program, or if you're getting if you're getting a social work minor, this is a core class for each, which means you must get no less than a C in this class in order to be eligible to apply to the program. If you are wanting to get into the program and get less than a C, this is a class that will be required to be repeated at a later date. My information is here at the top. If you didn't watch the instructor video, I do have my MSW, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker here in Indiana. This is my work email address and my phone number. Now, I'm only giving the one phone number, and this is not a direct line to me. This actually gets the front desk of counseling and psychological services. We kind of have a rule of thumb not to provide our direct link to our office line to students within our center. So you'd actually have to go through the front desk of the counseling and psychological services. But I am not located in the social work department, which can be really confusing. But I am just an adjunct. I am not a full-time faculty member, but I do work here at USI. So there can be some confusion there. In terms of office hours, I do not have standing office hours. All mine are by appointment only. So if you need to meet with me, we can do it in person, we can do it over the phone, we can do it by Zoom, but we just need to get that appointment set up. So a couple things real quick. Now, I said I'm not going to go through every single piece of the syllabus, but I am going to just go over this very beginning part, this course description, and then I'll bounce and hit the highlights after that. But you want to know what this class is, right? So under the course description, this course explores the philosophical and historical evolution of the American social welfare system. Course content covers public and voluntary efforts to deal with poverty and other social problems. Content addresses theories of political influence on social change. Content on social justice, oppression, discrimination, spirituality, and diversity are all included. And so jumping down to the bottom paragraph, students will be introduced to major areas in U.S. social welfare and programs such as Social Security, unemployment, Social Security income, temporary assistance to needy families, better known as TANF, general assistance, food stamps, school lunches, community action, all sorts of stuff. So essentially, we're going to be talking about what are some of the social problems that have existed in our world, and then how have we addressed these social problems as a society, as a community over time, when it was more informal, and then how has it become formalized, and how has the formalization evolved over time? What different aspects are handled by the government, for example, versus still in the hands of nonprofit organizations. So we're going to be looking at all of those different pieces. But that's essentially what this class is. If you took 221, that's really about like what is social work. 222 is tell me about the programs that social workers use in their work. Okay, so I'm going to jump down. The very next thing is I want to look at the textbook here. So on the textbook, this is a core component of the class. Some people are like, oh, wait to get your text until the first week of classes until they tell you if you need it or not. I'm going to tell you for sure that this is a thing that you absolutely do need. We're going to have quizzes that are going to come straight from the text. We're going to have discussion boards that pull questions straight from the text. So you're going to need the textbook for this class, okay? We go through a chapter a week, and there are the discussion boards and the quizzes are both directly associated to the readings of the chapter. So you definitely need this. One thing I want to show you real quick, and so I'm hoping you are still tuning in with me and you haven't already turned the video off, but if you need some assistance those first couple weeks, if you have a book on back order, if you go back to our website and go into resources and book introduction, I actually have the first 3 chapters scanned as PDFs for you, just to kind of get you off on the right foot. That way you're not getting behind, and once you get a week or 2 behind, it's hard to get caught up. So let's start off on the right foot. I tried to remove that barrier for you if possible. Now, this is a web course, which means that 100% of the class will be done online. We do not have regular meetings. We're not going to be doing Zoom sessions or anything like that. But this is going to be entirely online. Your quizzes, your discussion boards, your readings, all that stuff is all going to be online. Any sort of communication for myself is going to come from emails, announcements, comments on your grades, those kinds of things. So just watch for that. Obviously, like I said, we can meet if need be, but the main communication is going to be electronic. So a few other things here. Now, this is the other thing that everyone likes to know is how am I being graded in this class? I've tried to make it easy. It's the class is out of 500 points. So if you double where you're at in the class at any given point, you'll know what your percentage is in the class and how much more you'll need to earn in order to get to a given percentage. So, so you can always come back to this chart if you need some assistance, but just remember I've tried to keep it nice and clean for you. Now the assignments, I'll go over a little bit more in detail below, but essentially you're gonna have 14 quizzes that are 5 points each. You're gonna have a timeline assignment, which is broken into 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. And then you're gonna have weekly discussion boards as well. Then we'll have a comprehensive final exam, which is not as scary as it sounds, and a professionalism grade as well. So how does that break down? So the professionalism, you see 30 points. This is something I could kind of use at my discretion, But one thing that I always tell folks is that there is a discussion board grade directly for the discussion boards. But what I will also do is I will reduce points if I see the individuals are not engaging in the discussion boards fully. So not only can you potentially lose points on the discussion boards, but you can also lose points in professionalism if you're not engaging, right? The discussion boards, this is like really your only opportunity to engage with your peers in this class. So I'm really gonna push for you to do that. And if you're talking about social work as a profession, you know, we are constantly working with deadlines. We have individuals' lives who are depending on us to follow up with communication, with feedback, with, you know, reviewing important documents, etc. So we have to really strive to be professionals in the classroom as well. Now, the quizzes, you are going to have 14 quizzes. All of the questions are going to come directly from your readings. This is kind of a check-in for the readings to make sure that you are engaging with the chapters. In the red, you'll see that instead of a quiz for chapter 15, that will just be included in the final exam. Now, we will have timeline assignment part 1 and part 2. There will be another video dedicated to just reviewing what that is. But just the overview of it is essentially you're going to take a social welfare program or policy, and you're going to look at its evolution over time from what did a social problem look like before there was an intervention in place, what were the early interventions to help address the social problem, and then over time, how did that intervention change and evolve and shift to continue to address new variations and new aspects of the social problem, right? So we're not focused on the social problem, but rather the response to the social problem. Then we will have our weekly discussion boards. So with the weekly discussion boards, or with 8 points each, you'll get 4 points for your original post. You'll get 2 points each for 2 peer responses. You'll see in the black, your original discussion board post must be submitted by Thursday at 11:59 of the week we are on, with 2 peer responses due by Sunday at 11:59. Now, the reason I have that little split is because what has happened in the past is, you know, 2 or 3 the individuals who are high achievers will submit early in the week, and then there's twiddling their thumbs waiting for everyone else to catch up, and then there's a big rush for everyone to do it Sunday night. So I want to give everyone breathing room. So do your original post by Thursday, do your peer responses no later than Sunday. You'll see everything in this class is always due by 11:59 p.m. on the Sunday of a given week. A couple things to also know about your discussion boards. One is that it is post first. So you cannot read other people's discussion boards before you submit your own. So I want you, if you go on there and like, oh my gosh, everything is blank. Well, there's probably 2 or 3 or 10 people that have submitted, but you can't read theirs first. And the reason is because I want to see your thoughts, your opinions. You're not being graded in the discussion boards on accuracy. You're being graded on your participation and your ability to think about and process the information. And then in your peer responses, I might be a little more lenient at first, but by the second half of the semester, especially, you'll start to lose points, even if you're responding to peers, if these are the things I am seeing in the responses. Katie, I've never thought about it like that. Brian, I totally agree with what you said here. You need to have a little bit more thought behind the responses. Pick out 1 or 2 things that they mentioned in their post and help expand on that. The last thing I'm going to say about the discussion board, and I'm sorry I'm focused so much on these, but this is where a lot of the confusion comes into play, is that the link should be 1 to 2 full paragraphs. You do not have to answer every single question within the discussion board. So if there are 5 questions being posed and you feel like you can answer 1 or 2 of those really thoroughly, then do that. The others are there to help you, to give you options or to help you kind of think of the bigger picture, how these things all tie together. So sometimes I have people answer all the questions in a discussion board. Sometimes folks will focus on a single question and just answer it at length. I'm happy with either one, but just know that you have options. And then finally on here, final exam, like I said, will be comprehensive, but the questions will be pulled primarily from past quizzes. So if you are taking a quiz and you are struggling and you're not sure what you got wrong, write down the things that you get wrong along the way, because you will likely see those again at the end. Your test is made up of the most relevant information that I want you to pull from this class moving forward. And then in big and red, assignments are always due Sunday by 11:59 p.m. There is a bonus opportunity in this class. I'm not going to review it. If you want bonus, then go and check it out and see what options are ahead of you. Okay. And then we have all of our USI statements. We do have a course calendar on here, which I'll look at separately in just a second. And then under the appendix, if you want to look at the instructions for the timeline assignments, you can do that, but they're also located elsewhere as well. Okay, so that is it for the syllabus. I'm going to close that off and come back to the Blackboard site. So if you need to take a break, put a pause on this and come back to review navigation, that's perfectly good. But just know that that's kind of what the second piece is going to be, is how to get through not Blackboard in general, but specifically our site. So, we talked about the start here section and what to expect. If you were to go to the syllabus/calendar, again, here are links to the syllabus and calendar that you saw on the previous page as well. I'm giving you multiple opportunities to get to it. Here's the USI academic calendar. So this is holidays, university closures, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to know contextually, like how this class falls within the academic calendar, then there's your link. And then this is our course calendar quick view. So you will see, I have it broken down pretty linearly. Oh my, sorry guys, really struggling to get that word out. But I have it set up in such a way that you will be able to follow, in pretty much chronological order through your text, and not really be surprised from week to week what is coming at you. So, in week 1, doing chapter 1, quiz 1, discussion board 1, both do 116, which is Sunday at 11:59. Week 2, chapter 2, quiz 2, discussion board 2, do 123. Now you'll see a couple things here. One, timeline part 1 is due on February 6th. So you want to get that done. You want to start looking at that early because it comes up pretty quick. Now, the reason I have it coming up pretty quick is because I want to have time to give you feedback before you start part 2 of your assignment, which is a little bit more in depth than the first part. So just be wary of that. Now, the other thing is that when you get to spring break, we're not going to have any classes. So on that week before, on 2/28, you actually see 2 weeks that I'm allowing you to get your stuff done. So that's when I'm assuming a lot of folks may be doing their timeline part 2, getting some stuff caught up there. So there is a chunk of time. And then timeline part 2 is due on 3/20. So that is the course calendar at a quick view. Okay, the third tab there is the announcements. We don't have any out there at the moment. Then I have office hours. So the main thing that's in here is my Zoom link. So if we do have a Zoom meeting, if I say, oh yeah, okay, let's have a Zoom meeting at 10 o'clock, then you can come back to the website and find the link right there. Now, here is kind of the meat and the potatoes of the course. So if you go under course content and units, this is where everything can be found. Now, one thing I forgot to mention on the course calendar is because of spring break, around this time, the chapters and the weeks will get thrown off. So if I got a week 10, for example, you're actually doing chapter 9 during week 10. So don't get yourself too confused there. It's not a typo. Spring break and having that week off kind of throws off the matching aspect. Now, I will also say this as we look at week 1 really has the most in it because you have to just get oriented to the class. Once you get past the first timeline assignment, part 1, then the rest of the class becomes way more manageable. So I really tell people to kind of stick it out because the first 4 weeks are really kind of like full throttle. and then we bring it back a notch, and you have some time to get part two in. And then after part two, things get a little bit easier heading into the end of the semester. So we actually we start fast and then we end slower this class. So every chapter or every unit is going to start with kind of a task overview of things that you need to be doing during that week. So, in week one, you see the syllabus and course overview, all that kind of good stuff. But then you're going to start to see some of the same stuff that you're going to see every single week. And that is going to be a PowerPoint. So if you click on this PowerPoint, it's actually pulled from the textbook as well. What I suggest doing for the class is to open up the PowerPoint, read through the PowerPoint, see what the important topics are ahead of time, and then read your chapter after you've read through the PowerPoint. You don't have to read the PowerPoint for memorization or for studying. Read the PowerPoint to get, headings, subheadings. What are some of the main characteristics that you need to pay attention to within your readings? And then go in and do your reading. That way your brain is already primed to think about, okay, I just read over this yesterday or half hour ago. So, pay attention to this thing. This is important. So that's how I use the PowerPoints in this class. I also have a video of myself in most of the weeks. Not every week has a video for myself. The videos are sometimes going over the content specific to the chapter. It is not a full lecture. It is not meant to go over chapter one from beginning to end. Usually I'm focused on 3 or 4 concepts I want you to know. And then a couple of them, I'm actually focused not so much on the content of the chapter, but on the specifics of the discussion boards, helping to clarify the discussion board questions and give context to those. So you'll see both of those pieces in there. And then in some weeks, I'll have supplemental videos, either in addition to or in lieu of my videos, to help put your reading into context. So you'll see those sprinkled out as well. And then you'll see quiz one and then discussion board. This is a link back to the discussion boards. And discussion board one is kind of just for fun. It's not content related, which you'll see that when you get to it. So jumping back to the units, week 2, exact same thing, okay? Now this one, you will see me very quickly talking about the timeline assignment. So you do see that kind of introduced in here just so that you're starting to think about it. But there's your PowerPoint, there's your video, there is a supplemental video, there's your discussion board. Now, I am in student view, and so one thing that you will notice is that the quiz is missing. So the quiz is missing because the quiz is set to open up the Monday of the new week at 12:01 a.m. So all of your other stuff is due Sunday at 11:59, and then your quizzes will open up the very next morning. And I do that because I want all of us to stay pretty much on pace with each other throughout the class. And really, it's getting hard for you to work more than 1 week ahead at a time anyways. I have had people do that, but what you need to remember is if you do try to work ahead, that you're going to have to jump back every single week to do your peer post. So this is a asynchronous, synchronous class in that we're going to stay on par with one or on pace with one another, but just so much in the context that you're working within the same chapter during the same week, but you're kind of working on that at a different pace from your peers. And then I have hyperlinks to the timeline assignments in here as well. And I have that really every single week leading up to the due dates for those. So you'll see consistency from week to week, your overview, PowerPoint, all that kind of good stuff. So you will really kind of come to know what to expect out of this class. So once you get your footing, then this is going to become really easy to manage. I also have quick access to discussion boards. So the units, excuse me, have a hyperlink to this section here, essentially. But if you're working, you do your PowerPoint to do your reading, and then later, like, okay, well, I need to come back and do chapter 3 discussion board later. Well, that's fine. Just come in here, click on discussion board, and go straight to it. You don't need to go back through all the units to get to it. And then down here, you'll see timeline assignment part 1 and part 2, which will have their own videos that you'll want to view about how best to navigate those. And then under tools, you'll have check my grades. I try to be pretty fair about getting things uploaded in a timely manner for your grades. Some things, if you didn't submit it, instead of giving you a 0, I will just leave it blank. And that's because if there's a situation where a student needs to put in late assignments or whatever, then I usually will. It's easier for me to leave it blank and then add a score later than to remove a grade and then add a grade. But otherwise, you should see your stuff pretty quick, usually within a week or two. Some of the bigger exceptions would be your big assignments. So, and then if you click on calendar now, you're not going to see anything for mine because it's in student view. But for you, you would actually see all of the due dates right here. So if you want a quick view of all of the things that are due for this class, you can come into the calendar and you can see all of it really quick. You can come over here to send email if you need to contact myself or anyone else in the class. And then I also have a whole bunch of resources listed. So again, book introduction is a little hidden gem here for those of you who are waiting for your books to come in. I also have Rice Library, social work department information, all sorts of stuff down here. So make sure that you check these out as well. So now one thing I'm going to jump back to real quick is this timeline assignment. So I know that I said I'm going to make another video about it, but if you've stuck it out with me and made it all the way to the end of these introduction videos, which I know can be really difficult to do since there's not really any content here. A lot of people have already checked out by now, but for those of you who haven't, there is a payoff in that when it comes to your timeline, I'm going to actually have you choose your topic and you're going to submit the topic that you want to do in a discussion board. And you'll see here in the description and the instructions, choose your topic, first come, first serve. So you have a list in these bullet points of all of the different things that you can choose to write about and to do your project over. And some of these are going to be more desirable and easier to do and have more readily available information than others. So if there's something you really want to do, you need to grab it now. For example, and this is honestly the reason I shifted over the years to having you choose your policy up front, is foster care. For example, I don't know why specifically, but it tends to be a hot topic. In the past, if I had 20 people in class and I said, choose whatever topic you want from this list, I'd say 12 of 20 would do foster care. So if you are really impassioned to do foster care, you better get on here and submit your topic. And it's pretty easy to do. You'll just come in here and you'll submit it in the way that it is listed in the instructions. Before you submit, though, you'll need to make sure that no one else has already submitted your topic. So if you come in here like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do foster care, and then you see someone else has already submitted that as a part of their discussion board, then they've laid claim to it and you have to choose something else. So now I'm not going to go through and monitor this, and I'm not going to come back and say, okay, yes, you're assigned X, Y, and Z. I'm kind of relying on self-monitoring here. So, so just check yourself before you choose your topic and before you write it down. Okay, that is it for the overview for this class. Now I know that is a lot of information, and I know there's still some more information to come regarding how to do the big project in the class, but hopefully you have found this helpful so far. I am always happy to make myself available. Every year, I always have some folks that are overlapping between my 222 and my 221 class. So if you have questions and you're in the other class, you can always kind of snatch me up before my 221 class as well. But also, you know, just try to just reach out to me. I love connecting with students. You know, this may just be an adjuncting position for myself, and I know I have a lot of other irons in the fire, but teaching is a passion for me, and social work is a passion for me, and I really want to see students do well. I'm not the kind of instructor that's out trying to make my class overly difficult or try to fail people. I want you to learn about the social work profession And I want you to learn about social welfare, whether you're a social worker or not, and understand the history behind social welfare and its incredible impact on our society, because there's so much um, misinformation that's floating around. And so that's kind of where my passion lies. So, please reach out and ask questions. Don't be afraid of me. I'm not a scary faculty member. I want to make myself available to you as much as I can. So again, I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you for sticking it out if you've made it this far. Please watch for other videos, and I look forward to seeing all of your work over the class. Thanks.